The cloud is the digitally connected training device by ICAROS. With its flexibly adaptable exercise area, the ICAROS Cloud enables functional, full-body workouts for people of all ages and fitness levels. Thanks to the integrated digital interface, all ICAROS training courses can be accessed using a tablet or smartphone. Virtual reality headsets can also be used for even more immersive exercising. The cloud is light, stable, and easy to store due to its inflatability.
Welcome everybody to our second installment of the deep dive. It's great to be here today and to welcome to all participants on Zoom. Be free to turn on your screens because we're a small group so we can speak face to face, and everybody on LinkedIn enjoy watching. My name is Ake Rudolf. I'm director of the UX Design Awards. It's my pleasure to welcome you today. And each month in this deep dive sessions, we'll present different award-winning teams, their projects, their stories, and of course, their makers. The next deep dive, by the way, is the first in our talent track edition. We will present the award winners in the new talent category. And on May 26th, that's in 2 weeks, you can enjoy Malin. Malin is the designer of the life-saving assistant, Amy. But back to why we are here today. So why we are here? Of course, we are presenting one of the winning projects of the UX Design Awards, actually one of 2 winning projects. Very briefly about the awards. We are a global competition for excellent experiences. The awards are organized by the International Design Center Berlin, IDZ. We are a German non-profit and member-based institution, and our mission is to promote the value of design in business and society. And ever since 2015, with the awards, we have been recognizing and honoring the value of positive experiences in products, services, prototypes, but also in visionary concepts. And of course, in the works by new generations of designers. So if you've got great experience projects in the works, so feel free to have a look. The call for entries is still open until May 31st. So we will be very happy to see some of your great work in the awards as well. But the awards are not only about promotion. We created the competition because we believe that good UX design has a huge and ever-growing impact on shaping a positive living environment for us all. Good design helps to create solutions that are relevant. So products that improve our lives, services that help us to achieve our goals in a better way, and that are easy, understandable, and even fun to use. That would be the best. But good experience design can also empower. It can help us. It can improve our abilities, open access to knowledge, health, services. And by doing so, it can strengthen inclusion and participation. And so good design and good experience design can contribute to shape a more accessible and a just society. So in a nutshell, good experience design as we see it should be innovative, intuitive, it should create satisfaction, and at the same time be also responsible and integrative and strive to create better opportunities for all of us. It's a pretty steep order, but I think Michael will show some of this later on. And that's why we created the awards as a platform to promote great examples of positive experiences across all industries and fields, and to create a community of professionals with a platform for knowledge sharing and networking in UX. So, but enough of the introductions. Let's get to our main act tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce not only the winner of last year's product award with the home exercise ICAROS Cloud, but also the gold award winner in 2016. And back then it was Michael's newly launched VR exercise system for gyms. So both were developed by ICAROS, the team in Munich. 2 different award juries were impressed by the products, and they gave the titles, among others, for, and I quote, accomplished, immersive, multisensory experiences that employ VR technology and free-flowing movements in space to create a complete physical and visual user experience through gamification, ICAROS reaches new target groups in the fitness segment, and it represents a compelling innovation in the world of sports. So with this, I would like to introduce our speaker. Michael Schmidt, is the co-founder of ICAROS and CEO of Hive. It's an innovation consultancy based in Munich. Michael always wanted to be an inventor, he says. But his parents back then, of course, told him rather to become a doctor, that there was no fitting job out there. So he decided to create his own ecosystem, and Hive was born. For over 20 years, Michael provided targeted innovation services to customers across the world. And 5 years ago, he co-founded the spin-off ICAROS. And ever since then, his focus has been on developing the most exciting ways to work out. So it's a pleasure to have you with us here, Michael. Please take it away from here. The screen is yours.
All right. Thank you very much for the introduction, Ake, and thank you to UX Design Awards, the whole team, and everybody else from your side for having me and giving me the platform to talk a little bit about my probably one of my most favorite subjects to talk about. Never ask a startup to talk about what they do every day because it will never stop. Okay, so I think you summarized it all very well. Unfortunately, it kind of sounds complicated. I had a hard time understanding what we were doing now for the last 5 years after I listened to your introduction. So I know that we are a little bit complicated, but the easy part about us is we provide sports actually in a way that many of us like sports, like in a gamey way. So when we started off in 2015 and showed our product to the public at the first in Berlin at the Republika, people were queuing up on our device and with VR goggles. At that time, it was an Oculus developer kit 2, and they were all amazed by the idea of having a flight, okay, in virtual reality. And so the device that we created for that is actually, we call it a passive device. There's no motors inside, no engines, no propulsion, nothing. It's just a small little box we created with an accelerometer and a gyroscope inside that's on the handlebar. So you can also use your fingers for the keys to start and stop the whole thing. And so the angles get transported through Bluetooth to the PC at that time, and the whole thing then landed in the goggles, and you were able to steer your flight by body movement. Means the whole system is made in a way that your center of mass is somehow exactly at the same point where two axles meet. So this way, very, very small and defined body movements can create lots of output. You actually become a gamepad. Your body becomes the steering device of a gamepad. And this way you are really, you are part of the game. It's really, you are really moving through worlds this way. And of course, flying is one of the key topics. We thought that's like a self-marketing event, you know, making somebody fly. And we had people jump off who had vertigo, who were afraid of heights. So we knew, okay, this thing is working. It kind of gives the feeling the chills. It gives the people the chills that really have a problem with that. Fortunately, that's not the bigger part of the population. So people started to fly on our device and started to sweat on our device. And that's exactly what we wanted. And we kept on building new solutions. We kept improving the device, the hardware, and the people manufacturing the hardware for us according to our 3D drawings that we do in Rhino, and then transfer it to them, and then they make their laser cuts and bend the stuff the way we want, and then we look and say, you gotta do a little bit more here and there. So in the end, the device was the way we wanted it to be. And actually the people who helped us building the prototype, who had the welding machines and the Trump laser cutters, it's a huge big device, and the cranes to handle the steel plates and so forth. They still produce for us the ICAROS Pro, which is a B2B device, which is a commercial device, which is used by gyms, which is bought by gyms, which is bought by physiotherapists, which is bought by at that time when before COVID struck, by location-based entertainment to give people the chance to escape. And of course, at the same time, from 2016 on, we then started to build up a small team, created our own software. There was not a whole lot of people around that were really capable of developing virtual reality in a small team who had like multiple abilities and were impersonating many crafts in one person. So we were a small team in the beginning, so things started small, but our wish list was huge. And in 2017, we had the chance to go to the United States for a quarter of a year and in Silicon Valley with the German accelerator, and to learn a little bit with what type of water they boil their eggs in Silicon Valley. And I can tell you it's the same water that we use, just a little bit more money involved. So we returned and we were really super eager, and we started off creating our first online multiplayer, a huge project which is still going on, and it's working. It's a racing game. It's called ICAROS. You can find it on the www.icaros.com. It's a cool platform. You do need a PC VR system for that, and you need a huge graphic card that manages those 90 images per second that you need per eye to get through this thing without motion sickness and with a, let's say, seamless and good feeling. But you can race with 7 other people all around the world, so 8 people chasing the split seconds. That's the name of the game. And I personally think this is still one of the coolest racing games that's out there. Of course, I love it because we kind of, the whole team here, we created it. But at the same time, I know what kind of ups and downs virtual reality went through. And this is also something I would love to share with all of you, that tapping into a new technology while you invent something on top of this new technology is always risky business. And yeah, from our point of view, we kind of backpedaled a little bit in 2018 from our pro devices, which became more and more sophisticated and more expensive. And we're able to do 24/7, super rugged, 120 kilograms, and you could put 300 kilograms on this thing. And the TUV, the German technological survey people who certify you, they love this, and we have this thing like certified all over. But we didn't have anything for the consumer, and people started to ask for this. So we had to kind of backpedal a little bit out of technology and see how can we do something that is not so costly and not so expensive, and still it is easier to use. You don't need anybody to introduce you because you may be at home and there is nobody around. You got to do this alone with yourself, and you should not get hurt, so it needs to be safe. So we came up with the ICAROS Home, and yeah, and it kind of worked. In 2018, we started with this. And fortunately, we also went into the consumer market, which for us as a small little company is a huge, big step, because the consumer market follows totally different rules. And you cannot make as much money on one device where you explain something to somebody in long words and so on, and make sure, okay, you have the perfect user journey. Your user experience is exactly the way we want it to be. You have to do this kind of automized. You give this product away to somebody you might not even ever see in your life. And that person needs to have also a beautiful user experience. And we learned and learned and learned. And while we did the ICAROS Home, we presented this thing at many fairs and shows all over the world. And also at one fair, an early prototype in 2017 in Seoul in South Korea. That was the first time I came across a company that made SUP-boards, stand-up paddling boards, SUP boards, inflatable stand-up paddling boards. This was a technology I love water sports, so I had a SUP board, really early, super expensive, red paddles, more than $1,000, so really expensive for a thing like that at that time. And it's based on an idea where you have like a drop stitch material that you coat with something that doesn't, it's not air permeable, and you can inflate that with high pressure, so this thing becomes like a board. It's really stiff. And so I met those guys and I asked them, hey, can you do something for me? And I made this little sketch. It actually was fast, and I only had a napkin. It's really true, it's just a napkin. Because they just had pretzels on their booth and they only had napkins. It didn't have anything else instead of business cards, but the business cards weren't worth anything because they had both sides printed on. Always a bad idea. You can't draw on the back side, never good. So I made a drawing, something like this. And I said, can you make this? And they said, yeah, we can make this. Said, okay, good. And it was like a shadow project in our company because nobody really believed in it because it's a whole lot of rubber and inflatable, and we were all steel and aluminum and joints and calculation and details. And then we have something which is hard to calculate because it changes its shape depending on the pressure you put into this thing. But I thought, okay, we need something, some bubbly shape where the center of the sphere of the shape is way above a person standing on this thing. Because then we kind of have the same principle like you have with those little toys that you can, and they always stand up like that. I don't know how you call that. In US, it's probably called a yacht. And it has a mast on it, and when the wind blows in, it kind of leans, and then the wind goes away, it stands up again, something like that. So we did this, and those guys made it, and it took a while and so forth, and we kind of, I had to convince our team, my team, that this might be a really cool thing. And it was not so easy because at that time, as I said, we were all in tough geometry. So it took me a while to convince people around me by ordering prototypes, painting them because they were ugly colored. It's always not good if something is laying around in your office that's ugly. People like, oh, what's that? And you say, that's our new product. And people say, oh, yeah, I will not support you doing this. And you can be boss all your life. If you don't get support by other people, I don't boss around people. I don't say, hey, you got to do this now. I want this. And it doesn't work this way. I think the best way to work together with people is working together. So I try to be convincing. And I did some, prototyping more, and had a mock-up mold making company in Nuremberg, and they used the South Korean gray ugly bubbles, and they painted it and printed on it for me to make it nice. And in the end, it was our physiotherapist who's part of our team, our science board team, and he said, why don't you add some loops on it so I can work with my patients on that thing? I have a use case. And I'm like, oh, I can do everything. So I went to Amazon and I bought those loops with the metal hook. You have them on those rubber boats when they, have that lifeline around. Everybody's seen that in their life. If you've seen Titanic, you know how those lines on those boats outside, and so it was like this, and you could stick them on the PVC of the inflatable, and the glue was fantastic, and I had those things on. The only problem was at that time the whole thing was black, and it looked like a sadomaso fetish tool. It looked like I pull out my whip and I'm going to whip you with this on this thing. So I had to change this. And when you were moving fast, those metal things that were like clinging, you could hear them. So it was kind of like, you know, like this death metal cult type of training device. That was exactly the opposite of where I wanted it to be. So we had to change this, but the basic idea of having a motion platform, a balanced platform, which is big enough to hold a complete body, so you can do all kinds of exercises on this thing. That was actually then the key, and the whole thing had to turn white, and the metal loops had to turn to fabric, and the whole thing then looked really sporty. If you want, I can show it to you. I have like a presentation. Do you guys see my screen, or how do I share my screen? Bildschirm freigeben. Oh, there we go. All right, let me see. Okay. Bam! Everybody see my screen?
No.
Now you do.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. So I try to go to presentation mode. Okay, you see it? Yeah? Okay. Yep. All right. So we started off with some complicated stuff like this, which then from the ICAROS Pro evolved into a platform solution, a B2B solution. It's called the ICAROS Health in this kind of setup. But it can also be the ICAROS Pro for entertainment. So this is a versatile product, costs between 8,500, 8,400 and 16,000 euro, excluding that. Depending on what you do with it. We really use it as a scientific forerunner. Right now we are working on Next, which is our neurologic experience training software, which allows people with cerebral topics to regain control over their limbs and body by utilizing the principle of neuroplasticity in combination with biofeedback. Means we let people have a VR experience, they have the goggles on and they learn to fly, and this way they learn to utilize their limbs and regain power from, and not from their limbs which are paralyzed or hemiplegic, but from their core. So we switch around the chain of command. Normally, utilize your core is your punctum fixum. You don't move it so much. You move your limbs. In our case, we change that we change the chain of command. It's the opposite way. Your limbs are fixed. You move your body on your limbs. Means it's new for your brain, and it takes you a few minutes to really capture this. And this allows us to tap into untapped areas in your brain and to pick people up and try to motivate areas in the brain to, pick up activities that have been damaged in other areas. And we are working on that right now, and we've been working on that for quite a long time, but last year we started to beg the government for some money for it, and they gave it to us. Thank you, government. And yeah, it's called Next. I can talk you through this a little later. The other topic now, that's the ICAROS Home I was talking about. This is a redesign. This is a second one we bring out on the market. It is smaller. It doesn't only come it doesn't come in 3 boxes like its a predecessor. It comes only in 2 boxes, so the UPS people don't hurt their backs when they kind of deliver it to you. And it can do nearly everything this thing can do. It's just much lighter, holds a little bit less weight, and of course it does have some limits to the angle. So you cannot go as extreme as you can go on this thing if you release all presets. And then this is the rubber bubble I was talking about. And we called it Cloud. Some people love that name, some people hate it. So they say, oh, ICAROS Cloud, or you have like a cloud is only digital. I'm like, no, clouds are full of rain and they're up in the sky. Come on, and you can't just, pirate something like a term like a cloud and say it's only digital. No. This is as much a cloud as the Microsoft cloud or whatever clouds out there. So of course it's a cloud because it's soft, it's squishy, and it's pleasant. With the ICAROS Health, I've just told you we have a science board in the background. These are just fans, and actually some of them are vice world champions in our ICAROS, like Dr. Phil Heaton. This guy, he's like Superman. It's like the body. He runs 100 meter under 11 seconds. 10 something, it's crazy, a super sprinter. And if you want to Google this guy, he does a lot for sports and professional sports, and his nickname is the Fat Doctor, because he's doing surgery on hips and knees in England, and he's doing like 500 hips per year, something. It's an incredible number, and he is operating surgery on people who don't get surgery from others because of their body weight. Because he takes them and he says, okay, we will change your lifestyle. You come in my personal gym and you work out. So we get your circulation and your blood pressure under control and kind of give you a certain feeling for a healthy lifestyle. Lose some weight, because every weight you have will kill your joints even after the operation, after surgery. And this way he changed people's lives, and he's been talking about that. So he's called the Fat Doctor, because he gets people who are really fat, and he's proud of it, and he changed lots of lives with that positively. And so he has, I think, 4 ICAROS devices and so on, and he utilizes them to motivate people to regain some momentum. Okay. I could talk you through all of them. It's like a long story. We started off with core because we found out that our personal low back pain problems kind of vanished due to the fact that we were, of course, exercising a lot on our ICAROS Pro devices over time. Johannes and me, my co-founder, by the way, he was an intern at Hive, and then he fortunately started as a designer in my team, and I had the chance to say, hey, because he did a master degree work on a robotic device, which he called ICAROS, or why that. And so I asked him, hey, let's do this together. Let's do this without robots. And this is how we got in a team, and we're still working together. So cool. He's 20 years younger than me and much smarter and looks much better and is definitely the cooler guy. Next time you should ask him to talk with you. Yeah, well, we both had back problems, and we found out that due to obviously our own exercising and testing all our prototypes, our back problems vanished. Although we had to lift our 120 kilo devices all over the place from 5th floor to, I don't know, I was lifting so much weight in 2016, I cannot tell you. I should have been on crutches, but I was not. It was because of the way our core was worked. We didn't even notice through working on the ICAROS. So we had some scientists check this out for us, and they found out that after spine surgery, dislocated discs and things like that, lower back pain syndrome, LBPS, that's a short term for it. It summarizes a lot. There's a lot of stuff that can happen to your lower back, and especially through sitting. You kill yourself by sitting. That's what we all do. And then drinking a Coke, that just gives us the rest. Smoking doesn't even, make a difference anymore. It changes the way the balancing system of your muscles work. So while you sleep, you do not keep on harming yourself due to the fact that you have an unbalanced system of muscles around your spine. That's the idea. And that's actually the fact. That's how it works. And we found it out through the Sporthochschule Köln and through a guy working with 26 spine patients in a physiotherapy in Augsburg, who did his master degree on that, and he gave us all his results after 1 year, and we found out, wow, this thing is amazing. So that was the one thing. So we made some software for it. It's called Core. It really helps you. And the other thing was that a guy came to us. He said, "Hi, I'm a neurosurgeon. I'm in Australia, and I'm having this Australian accent." I'm like, "Okay, this guy is really Crocodile Dundee type," and he has a neuroscience therapy, neurophysiological therapy in Australia, and he has been experimenting with virtual reality. And he said, "Hey, you guys have something which I need," and he explained why. So we were listening and we're like, "Okay, sounds great." And we sold him a device, and then he was on breakfast television in Australia, and somebody kind of played that thing to us. And you saw a mother with her adult son standing in this physiotherapy talking to television. And she was talking about her son as if he wasn't there. So she said, "Yeah, the doctors, and my son had a stroke and so forth. And the doctors told me, hello, here's your son. You can call him vegetable. He won't do a thing in his life anymore. Walking, no way. That's your new vegetable. Take care of him. Go. Bye-bye. Please, son, come here." And then he was walking to her. You didn't see anything on him. He was like walking totally normal, and we started to talk and so forth. And he said that he was working out on the ICAROS device, diving with fish, which was a hobby of him when he was before his stroke, So it kind of made him walk again. And I'm like, okay, this is a little thick, I don't really believe this thing. So we started talking to neuroscientists when we were showing our products at the Medica. And yeah, the neuroscientists just love our stuff. I don't know, but they do. So in the end, we learned a lot from them, and we said, okay, we have to do something. So the key for us right now, this is the next project, is that you as a person who drops out of medical care because your insurance doesn't keep on paying after you suffered from a stroke, once you kind of return to life, they kind of say, okay, after 1 or 2 years, it's like over, your therapy is over, go live with it. And from that point on, you are alone. And things happen that you make happen or they don't. So we met this guy, Walter. He had a stroke 8 years ago. He came to us last summer, and he said, "I need to fly. I want to test this." So we brought him step by step through our software, and in the end, we learned how to do this and how to get him hooked. So we said, okay, he kind of experiences all our different software types, all our different games. So we kind of put them in a row and created a software that learns and that notices how good you are and kind of always keeps you on the edge of your abilities in a state of flow. That means that you are learning by doing, and the software is learning from you and getting more and more difficult. And steadily. So after a couple of days, the software is really your software. The game is your game, that you're flying in a parkour type of scenario that is made by your abilities, keeping you on the edge of what you can do. And yeah, that thing is right now taking shape and getting better every day. And I think we will have it done by October this year. And we hope that it's going to help people. But right now we have Corona, so we had to go into home business because we have to make money. Otherwise, we cannot pay salary. And so we kind of emphasized a little bit on the home products. And, we have that World Championship ICAROS going. It's the third World Championship we had last year. It was totally digital. There were no people involved, only here in our office tested people, and everybody else was like in Hungary, in Switzerland, in Austria, in England, and in France. And we were all racing and we kind of managed it. And I kind of felt with you when you started the UX jingle today and kind of, yeah, you got things going. And it's like the same thing with us managing 8 people flying together and broadcasting it through a streaming service, through Twitch to the world. Because that's how we did it. And it was not fully digital. We had some analog ways of filming off screens and broadcasting that back out in the world. So that really worked. And this year, I hope we will return to a live World Championship where we have the ICAROS Cloud involved, we have the ICAROS Home involved, and of course we have the ICAROS Pro involved. That's like Formula 3, Formula 2, and Formula 1, which is then the king of all. And there are champions, there are world champions, and there's money involved, and people really are working out hard to be in front. And you know what? Walter just entered the top 15 level. He beat me. He beat Johannes, my CEO colleague and founders colleague. He's faster than we are, and he's hemiplegic. His half side is paralyzed, but he's walking better. He changed his speed in walking from 13.9 seconds to 7.24 seconds in the tuck test. Time up and go. You sit on a chair, get up, walk 3 meters, turn around, walk back, sit on a chair. That thing is timed, and a normal person can do that within 6 to 7 seconds. And he's at 7.24, so the difference between me and him is like really, really short. And he started with over 13 seconds last year. So things are evolving, and he is now hooked, and he is ICAROS pilot. And I do not see him as, we don't do Paralympics, because I always tell him, you don't have any challenge. You might have some physical challenge, but forget about that. You are just like all the others. There's no difference. You're just too fast now. So that's the way. I hope he will keep that up and keep coming. So that's the ICAROS Cloud. And I will save you from discussing how virtual reality developed from 2015 to now. And I could even finger point why it is the way it is, but it's not there where we all hoped it would be. And at the same time, we wanted to offer a, let's say, easy way to have a fun workout without having goggles on and everything, because we believe in those, and we still believe in virtual reality for certain things. But for an everyday workout, you can do every day. We said, hey, we want to do as simple as possible. So we go for what everybody has. It's a smartphone with spiderweb cracks on it. That's only mine. I hope yours doesn't have it. It's your smart device, and all you got to do is you download an app from us, and you can choose between workouts. You can choose between guided workouts, we call classes, or games. You could call them exercise games or workout games, games that you, while playing them, you work out. And the whole thing is then connected actually with a little adapter to the ICAROS Cloud, and by body movement you steer this thing. It goes from high intensity interval training, where you can really kill yourself in an anaerobic way, and do they are at over 400 repetitions of motion on the cloud within 45 seconds. So that's nearly 10 motion sequences, 10 reps per second. That's huge. That's like people kind of vibrate to do this. And after those 45 seconds, you need a minute of rest and you burn calories while you rest, I promise you. So that thing is working. And that is our consumer case, actually the strong consumer case, because that thing is you can fly ICAROS on it. But you can also do a whole lot of variety of exercises on it. And it's kind of endless. Right now, we're working on an app where you create music by working out. It's like creating an instrument out of it. It's like a little ball, and by moving, you can, with your motion, with controlled motion, you ping pong that ball between little obstacles that make certain sounds, all running together with a nice bass layer. So in the end, you make a song that hopefully a good song, and you got to work out for that. To make it sound good, you got to do a little more than make it sound ugly. So another motivation. And so this thing is kind of endless because the digital layer just offers this huge opportunity of things. And when people ask us, hey, user experience, what is that for you? I can tell you that the user journey, which is part of the user experience, is one of the most important parts, we believe, that introduced itself to us as a global society. Because what we have is a lot of answers, and for everything, everywhere. You can, if you are in London and you're lost, poof, you have this little map on your smartphone. It brings you home to your hotel and so forth. In former times, you had to ask other people, or you were lost and then kind of died and starved out in the streets in London. Not anymore. Now you find home. There's actually, as long as you're connected, there's no way you get lost nowadays, neither with language nor physically in space, nor you can answer all the questions that your children will ask you because you just Google. And with that repertoire of tools that are just combined in those smart devices that we all use daily, there is a whole lot of creativity that could actually, be released from a chain of impossibility. And the only problem is you have to do it in a way that other people who also lack time and who are very hard to satisfy nowadays do have satisfaction and do have a good experience. And the product is made in a way, it's woven into a digital layer. There is no digital layer, actually. It's not a layer cake. It's mixed into each other. It's a blend that is, you cannot separate it anymore. And you should not be able to separate it. If people still separate it, it's old school. Make it separable. And it's not only digital. Lieferando or whatever you have, all those app-based startups and new economy and businesses, none of them, not even Bitcoin, is only digital, because there's always physics involved. Maybe if it's only a person somewhere sitting there trying to understand what my device just told me, So in the end, we have people in between, so things need to follow certain rules, and those rules are basically knitted along the ability of understanding, grasping, enjoying, and being able to utilize all those cool gadgets, wands, wizardy magic things that are out there. And for that, the user experience is the key. There is no better key and no more important key. And since I studied industrial design, I can tell you that it took a while, and I think it still didn't arrive in universities and school systems yet. and it should, because I don't know, when I went there, there was no user experience. Nobody talked about that. It was like, you got the visual design, you got to guide the user. Okay, this is the button you got to press to make the button red and put it in the center and so forth. Okay, that was there. That maybe was some, fine little idea of a user experience, but not in the way that actually digitization kind of demands from us all. So yeah, we created this device, and actually, when people ask us, "What are you?" Then we say, "Okay, we're a sporting goods company." Okay, in first place, we wanted to do sports equipment. That's it. We wanted to make working out in a gym as much fun as going kiteboarding or snowboarding or, like outdoor sports. So the body is not only lifting weight and is dead stupid and just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh man, my biceps is going to explode. And watching yourself on the mirror, it's having an experience. So then we said, okay, we're an experience company. We're an experienced sporting goods company. And in the end, they asked us, are you doing hardware or software? We said, no. Consider us a software company. It's not true. As a software is a tool for us. It's a set of tools, and we utilize it to make a holistic experience for a user, who does not have to separate, which is the hardware, which is the software. It's one. If you are on our device without the goggles and you start flying around, it's super boring. You say, what? This thing costs $1,000, man. I don't, it's fucking boring. I'm like, okay, I understand. But once you put the goggles on, or you have that thing, and whoop, people want to come again and say, wow, this is cool. I'm like, yeah, that's how it's meant, So if you only eat the butter, butter, it's fat, it tastes strange. But if you eat the bread with the butter, yeah, it can taste really good, from time to time, and so forth. And this is why we believe it's the mixture that makes things really work. And the mixture is not happening on the product alone. It's like the butter on the bread. It's still two separate layers. But once you have it in your mouth and you start chewing, it becomes one, and the taste becomes one. And that's so the human being is the blender for all those different layers and influences, software, hardware, services, and so forth. So user experience actually is always from the user perspective, and that is actually what helped us a lot. And and from my point of view, this is one of the best ideas, having an award named that's out there right now, because the other stuff is really old school in my point of view. Okay, so that much for you.
Well, guys. Michael, I think that really, sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
No, but I think that really, the person is really in the center of each of your products. And that brilliantly, I think, puts it into one, that everything rotates about the user in these products. But I'm wondering, there is at least I think 4 user groups that you're addressing. It's private persons, it's rehab, and even high-end medics. It's gaming, it's gyms. So how do you balance all of these very different user groups? And how did you understand what is the use case there? What are their needs and goals? And how do you develop a business model out of it? Because it goes into so many directions.
We developed no business models.
So it's
because there was no market yet when we started, and it changed. We had some huge help from companies like Peloton, who do that spinning bike with a huge content layer, and other companies like that, Mirror, Tonal, Climber. There are many companies out there who started addressing home fitness, and we also did that, but we did that from a technological island, which is called virtual reality, which is a solution from nerds for nerds. And it never made it into broad market because you have to have a deep knowledge and a huge amount of patience utilizing all that stuff.
So how did you get VR into the training device?
Mm-hmm. The key for us was the experience.
What was the moment? What was the trigger?
The trigger actually was making people fly. So virtual reality was one of the key moments. When in 1996, I was in school, in design school in Munich, and I had a project creating a home gym device. And there was one of my colleagues in school, and he made this rowing machine looking like a Ferrari, super red, crazy. And he utilized virtual reality goggles because a few days before that, we went here to a fair, to a show, a trade show in Munich, and there was one guy wearing one. And I was telling that story in a long time later, and to my founding colleague, and he wanted to do a training device, and we talked about it and discussed it, and we said, okay, there's a scale between function and sense. Okay, if you're too much on the functional side, dumbbells or pull-ups or so things, you cannot make money with that. You got to go to the sense side of things. If you take all the products, you would put religion on the sense side of, this is like where you make a lot of money with nothing, not even a good idea.
The beginning of the project was your intuition right away, right?
Intuition.
And then you started to observe people, how they used. How did you continue the development then?
Key for us was at that point that Oculus sold developer kits. They had short cables on it, so the wire was really short, so the PC was always close to the head. And we used the network of Hive to get in contact with a guy in London who helped us to create the first environment to fly through. Because we said, flying is mankind's dream. You don't have to market that thing. You tell somebody, hey, I can make you fly, and it's totally safe, and it's here, and you don't have to go out in the rain or step in a plane or do anything complicated. You stay here, and I just make you fly. Nobody says no. Everybody wants to do that. And the trick was, we utilized the cheapest engine that was around. That was the person's body, because every robotic or every active system that you activate, and then it's like a motion traction and so forth, is expensive and totally out of scope at that time for us. So out of lack of money, we chose the cheapest way we could get. We presented the diploma work of Johannes to a robotic company, and that thing was made out of 16 little step rotating motors, creating all kinds of motions, and had the sensory pads and so forth. And we asked them, hey, can you help us? We want to have this multiple training device doing everything with you and for you and against you and so forth. They said, yeah, do you have 15 million euro? Then we can make a prototype. And I was just, picking my pockets, looking, okay, shit, I think I forgot my money. And then we drove home from Augsburg. We said, okay, we use the cheapest engine that's around there in sports, and that's the human body, because you want motion anyway, so why not utilizing it for free? The only thing we have to do, we have to create a mechanical system that's so sensitive that even small amounts of movements can create a reaction of the system, and at the same time make it manageable. So we have to create a sensitive system that's kind of digressive. In the middle, very sensitive, and the more you lean, the less sensitive it becomes. Means it kind of helps you to learn how to do little movements and to manage big movements. That's the idea, and that combined with wireless technology and then the virtual reality was just an immersive experience. Now, immersiveness alone does not give you access to everybody, because it's like you don't have a roller coaster at home, do you? It's
Not
cool.
yet.
It's not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know, and because you don't need that all the time. You know, sensation is good for getting people once, but in the end, you need something that's long lasting and that's sustainable, and it keeps fresh. And there, other systems can pick up and jump in, and this is why we started to add other systems to our system. And in the beginning, we were using PC curved screens for people who didn't want to wear goggles, or it's not hygienic enough. Even before COVID, the sweat was an issue. So we and motion sickness and people not wanting to share goggles out there and so forth. No problem. We had a screen, and the screen is mounted on the device, and it makes all the movements with you. So it's totally immersive. And then we were able to play Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Citizen, all kinds of jet fighter.
That was actually something I was wondering, because I didn't test it. So did you overcome the VR sickness problem?
Yeah,
through the device, and how?
Yeah.
How does it work?
The optic lobe in your brain is really close to the one that has to do with your intestine, okay? And your eyes always create two images, and your brain creates one image out of two. This is a constant work. Your brain is used to that, and you can trick your brain if you press the bottom of your eyeball and kind of push it a little bit out of shape. Then you immediately start to have two images, but your brain returns to that one image. And when you have a goggle on with the images very close to your face, then your brain does have a different perception of the images coming in. And so it tries to return to this one image you're used to, and it will. But that activity fires neurons, and those neurons also enter the system that is kind of, your digestion system and so forth. So it's like a friendly fire, that's the one thing. That's in split seconds. It's immediately. And that's one phenomenon. The other phenomenon is something called like motion sickness or seasickness, and you can train that away. By doing it more and more often, you get rid of this. We found out because my son, he got always sick when reading in the car, not driving and reading, but sitting, of course, side.
Yes, we all know this. Yeah.
Okay. If you fly on the ICAROS with VR, you get rid of that. You will not get sick in the car anymore, but you have to.
And this is because of the whole body moving along with.
Yes, it's
visual.
Yeah, you have in a human, you have two sensory systems which are really, really dominating. One is our eye sense, and the other one is our vestibular system. It kind of, our balance system of balance, and they work together, by the way. So they kind of have this cooperation. You find that out when you try to walk on a line by closing your eyes and you're blind. Your vestibular system still tells you you're standing upright, but you might lose direction. So we have a macro and a micro, and they work together. They work together really well. And because we are upright people, we are animals, we are standing upright. So our coordination system is not so bad. You can see that when you see people diving and doing all those somersaults, and they kind of keep control. This is something humans can do really good, and our eyesight's good. Our nose isn't that good, and our ears are not that good. Every dog's better, every rat's better. So hey, but looking and so if you see something that you do not feel in your inner ear, your brain says cannot compute. This is not good, and you get sick. As soon as you have both sensations, kind of, I would say, in line, and then it's good. We know this because we sometimes utilize factors to, kind of limit out our motion range and so forth. And there's a certain amount we can go, and if we exceed that, and the angles you have in reality and the angles you see in VR are not within, I would say, 80% of each other, motion sickness starts kicking in. And the worst for me is when I do test our products. I always have that stuff here, so to test prototypes, and I'm called seated VR. I'm on my office chair, go with the controller, go through space. I get sick. On the device, I don't get sick. So it does have to do with the combination.
So it's a balance. It's a balance between the visual and the physical.
Absolutely.
To make it very, very, very simple.
Yeah, right? To make it very, very simple. Because
what was the biggest challenge when you developed? I mean, the first was the ICAROS, the large system, right? So was it the physical parts, the mechanical parts, or was it the VR software part?
I would say to have exactly what you were referring to in the topic before, getting a good combination of both, which kind of feels natural and kind of gives you a sensation of, okay, this is right. That was the most difficult part, because we had to work on the hardware and the software at the same time to get that closer to the feeling where you kind of have this natural feeling. For example, just a little example, when an airplane does a curve to the right, it kind of rolls and pitches. So it does that movement and up, and you feel this curve, and it feels really natural because the air under the wing kind of pushes it. In space, to reach this point, what you would do is you would do a barrel roll 90 degrees and then you would only go up. Okay, so we had to combine those motions. We only have a two-dimensional system. By the way, we humans are two-dimensional when it comes to motion. We 2.5-dimensional is the maximum I give us. We don't have three-dimensional abilities. We will not be able to control a three-dimensional.
And what was the moment? How did you get this balance?
I think the key actually was when we started off, we had the smartphone tapped on our device to catch all those angles. And then the programmer, he was a guy doing simulations. So we had in the beginning wind, we had shearing, we had drifting, and all this stuff. And he made a little configurator for us, and we were like we were lost. We hit a mountain, a virtual mountain, and the whole thing was spinning, and you were like nearly falling off the device. And then we said, hey, we want to fly on rails. And he said, you want to fly on rails? Really? Oh, well, that's sad. I'm like, no, that's not sad. That's the maximum a human perception can take, And he said, okay, so flying on rails, having a direct feedback between the angles and a certain motion range with the radius of curves that has also to do with another variable, which is the speed, means you fly slower, you make tighter curves, you fly faster, your curves become farther. This is how you would also perceive it in reality. If you take your car and you drive 100 miles per hour and you make this curve, that whole thing is going to slide, and it's going to take a while until it changes direction, actually.
So the biggest challenge, I understand, was to get the software to respond in a very natural way to the movement, right?
Exactly. And for that, we had to do some new way of calculations that are actually more naive than the simulation people wanted. So people started to call our stuff simulator. We said, this is not a simulator. A simulator is always second best to nature. Our movement is unnatural. Basically, it had to be away from reality to meet the most real virtual reality feeling. Actually, the idea of creating a movement you would expect instead of creating a movement that would be the right physics. So it is not about physics and mathematics and reality and laws of nature, but it's about laws of expectancy. And this is why user experience is so important for us, because it is experience-based. And experience has a lot to do with anticipation or with guessing how something should feel, with expectation. So we had to meet the expectation of flying much more than real flying, because probably real flying would feel much more boring, you know, and I'm not a proximity pilot or a base jumper, you know, I'm not, I'm probably too scared, you know, but I talked with one, and one was flying on our devices, and we asked him how he felt. And he jumped off the device sweating, by the way, and he was really kind of nervous, and he said, oh, I just hit a mountain, and normally I would be dead. So this is cool. This feels real. So this was good for us, but we didn't know. We were kind of creating, like Karl May, you know, he never went to the Wild West, and he still wrote about it because he imagined this is how it should be. And he came close to reality, but he still stayed in his fantasy. So that's the biggest trick, to utilize your imagination for a certain form of reality, a virtual reality, much more than copying nature and copying the laws of physics and putting them, because that would go totally astray and nobody would love it. I can promise you.
So how long did it take for you to develop it?
A year. Only
a year. That doesn't sound like much.
It does. For me, it does. It does. It does. No, we are a small team. We're fast. So speed is not the problem, because you got to be able to throw away your work. I think that is one of the key learnings out of this. You made something which many people you might talk to already say, wow, this is great. And you have to be really nerdy about it. Say, it's not great enough. I want it better. I have another idea. So you really have to be, let's say, strong with your own set of rules, and be able to throw away your work and not be satisfied. And that's the trick. Investors hate this because you never stop, you know. Well, the result is cool.
I mean, for the private person, I see this absolutely. I see this in the gaming industry very much. I don't know, you said you don't have a clear or straight or yet clear business road.
We do. We do now. We didn't until now, but we changed. We had a cool strategy in 2019, mixing since a physiotherapist from Göttingen saw our prototype of the cloud, and she already owns ICAROS Health, and she said, I need this too, because people who get off this, they need to get on that. And we're like, okay. So she took the prototype, and I said, you can have it. I have two of them. You use it. She's still using it. So we saw a strong link when it comes to therapy from one device, which kind of restrains you a little bit and gives you more of a frame around you and helps you and supports you, to a device where you have a little bit more freedom in motion and movement, which then actually was resembled by the ICAROS Cloud. So there is a journey that can be followed through in the B2B business case. And we thought, okay, the ICAROS Cloud is a perfect product for the consumer, because together with the smartphone, without the VR, and with the versatility that it offers, it's actually a full body workout device. You can do every muscle group, and you can really spend hours on this thing without hurting yourself, and burn a lot of calories. So we started to build on this app, which then last year we were publishing on Apple and Google stores. And our customers gave us a huge feedback. We didn't receive, we sold the first batch of the product, like 50. We didn't get one back. They're gone, you know. And so we started, okay, we order more and more, and they sold out all the time. So we ordered more and more, and like, okay, at a certain moment in time, we found out actually last year, that if we go on changing our business from B2B to B2C, actually by trying to provide products to people which kind of occupied the whole team here all the time, in the end we found out we are too small. Now we have to grow to order more products, to have more people managing that in-out thing, and so forth. And then we started rethinking the way we were set up, and we are still working on that, but we have a good plan. We're right now talking about a new investment round because we need money to be able to enter the B2C market on a higher level. We are talking then about bigger numbers, and for that we have to change ourselves.
Right. So this is the if the question is where do you see the product in 5 years, then it will be in every second home, and
no,
not
every second, every home.
Every home, sorry.
Yes, every home.
There will be an enormous community of app developers on the app stores creating games, maybe, and software. Is that also a direction? Because
yes,
you could think about a community of
yes.
co-developers and open source
Yes.
community creating challenges and.
Yes. You nailed it. I mean, for us, of course, we want to create a layer of quality, and living by rules is one thing, but creating rules to be understood by other people working independently for you is another thing. And we can turn this switch on and start with open source and community content. The moment we made the biggest mistakes ourselves and correct them, because you do not want to multiply mistakes. It's not a good idea. It means we have to kind of find out boundaries and sets of rules for what we're doing. This is what we're doing right now. This is why we have like a strong link to our customers and learn every day and try to, be able to get pushed around by them and kind of follow them and find the perfect line. And one of the key developments this year will be a workout configurator where we offer exercises, all different exercises that make up one workout. So it will be an exercise library, and people will be able to pick those exercises and create their own workout. And the next topic will be that we will start this also this year for physiotherapists in the beginning, creating an exercise for a patient, for example. And then we have like two, let's say, huge outlets there as a so-called toolkit made out of a configurator and a toolkit. Toolkit means endless configuration ways. Toolkit, a configurator means defined amount of variables. So we will have this by the end of the year in our app and offer this to certain people in our community to find out how they're doing and then to refine this. And at the same time, we are super open to everybody who's willing to cooperate and work with us and wants to push content on our platforms. Right now, and in the past couple of years, we gave our SDK, software developer kit, for the ICAROS Pro to many, many universities, from Carnegie Mellon to, I don't know, many universities have that thing, and they're doing their stuff. We don't even know what they're doing with it. So unfortunately, that's because we are sometimes not so good in following through.
Michael, there is one question from the audience. Jutta.
Yeah, hi, Michael. Thanks for the flight. And
You're welcome.
maybe I skipped it, but I was wondering whether is there any feedback or any correction or any responsive function in your in your workout program you're developing or in your app? How does it work?
Okay, that's a good question. And all right, we have, of course, rating systems. And to my shame, I have to admit that's one of the later stuff that we inserted. The key for us is to talk with people and to read what they write about us, and to be really open. I mean, if you want, you can find out my phone number just roaming through to all the information about ICAROS easily, and you can call me anytime. And if you're a customer of us, the same thing. I mean, we are reachable for everybody. And I hope we can keep that up for the future. Although it's of course unlikely if you tap into consumer business at a certain point in time, then you just have too many people to deal with. But in the end, we try to stay grounded, so to say, and easy to reach. And as I said, our journey started off with B2B. We had really kind of hand-selected customers. We knew them very well, and we had a really, really close feedback scenario with them. So we took all that feedback and put it into our consumer devices. And there we also, of course, have direct feedback to certain consumers. But in general, for the future, and that is something we really, really have to do, we have to create channels and systems that allow us to be addressed by our customers once they kind of are above 1,000 or above 10,000 or above 100,000. Then we need that, all those channels. Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know if I got the question a bit differently also. If maybe it was also meant if as a user I get feedback about whether I'm working out correctly or what I can you know, what can I do better? Do I get a feedback when I'm working out? So in terms of rehab, in terms of exercises, you can do a lot of errors, right?
Okay. Yes, of course. With the ICAROS Home and the ICAROS Pro, the good thing is that the feedback is really direct, and this is really unforgiving. You just are uncontrollably flying around, you know. So the first feedback is the visual feedback of the way you missteer through a three-dimensional environment. You just won't hit the targets. That's it. And that feedback is really, really strong, and the learning curve is extremely steep. When you are working out on the cloud, on the ICAROS Cloud, especially with the app, then and we are talking about precise motion, then what you're doing is you're looking into how it should be done on your smart device, and you have a balance tool that kind of shows how balanced you're doing this, which of course does not show you if all motions you're doing are right. But what we found out is that, let's say, basically losing your balance or being, let's say, unbalanced while you do an exercise, let's say a bird dog or so forth, where you have to kind of manage the diagonal through your body when you're doing that exercise, then you find out if you're doing it good or not just by seeing how the balance system here would react on it. If you know, here's the bird dog, and it is difficult to do this. You will find out, and this is why you get a scoring for the way sometimes you keep the cloud still. But we also have dynamic exercises, and there you get a score when you tilt the product in the right direction at the right moment. So balance based on gyroscope and accelerometer are our tool sets right now. And we are right now working on a camera-based feedback that gives us the chance to observe your range of motion. The two topics we are facing there is topic number one, and that can be dealt with, is you want to be you don't want to have anybody observe you, so the camera feeds only going inside the device. There is no pictures of you going out and no videos of you going out in the world. That's number one. And number two is the capability of the CPU of your device. And here we are, I don't want to make a PR for the company, but Apple is better than right now most Android devices. And we are depending on the, let's say, abilities of your device. Means the newer devices are capable. We can have that run and get in real time feedback into our let's say exercise. But next year, it's on the plan for next year, and we are tapping.
I think there's so many goals you can still have. I think you missed us showing, but now it's clear to me that when you actually fly through the workouts in VR, that there is actually a landscape where you have the gamification factor, where you have to hit certain points, and that automatically guides you through the exercises. So there is no concrete set of exercises. It's rather a full body workout. Maybe a last question, or I have two questions. I think the last one will be very key for our customer, or let's say end user viewers. But when you develop the software and you develop the flights and you develop the points that you need to hit, you must be working together with medics or to determine the right movements, right, for the body.
That's absolutely so. Yeah, that's so. When we started off, we didn't do that, and we got whipped by some of them. So no, of course, we had a in our network we talked with orthopedic surgeons. And one of our first customers at the FIBO in 2017 with ICAROS, it was before ICAROS, was Dr. Phil Heaton. And he was struggling. He was like the worst pilot I've seen ever in my life going on that device. That has to do with a certain preset in your head. That's with people who do a certain sport really intensive. They are hardwired in their head. Means people who don't do as much sport, they kind of flexible with new stuff. But if you are really, 12th dan or something really, very precise and controlled, and you are top level on that, you will have problems with learning new stuff, because your code, the way you made highways out of certain motion commands in your brain, and they are in the way for new interpretations. So it took him a while, and he was 5 times in one day on our device, on the FIBO, on the Fitness and Bodybuilding Fair in Cologne. And he came by, and I'm like, okay, you again? And yeah, I'm again. I cannot believe I'm so bad, because he was observing 2 elderly ladies doing much better than he did. By the way, girls are faster learners when it comes to the motion range on the ICAROS Pro or the ICAROS Home, because women tend to not to go to the extreme and then roll back. They are more careful, and by being more careful, they move slower and more careful, and they learn how to utilize their body much faster. Men go on the device and they're like boom, 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 and then they have to kind of roll back and say, okay, I gotta slow down, and then they start learning. So in the beginning, they don't learn a thing. They only learn that they suck, and then in the end, they kind of say, okay, I gotta approach differently. And I have accompanied personally at least 15,000 people over our device. We've been at all fairs and shows that you can name within the first 4 to 5 years of our existence. Every week we were somewhere else, having huge lines of people that they were all waiting to get on a device. In Milano at the World Show, or what that thing is called, in 2015, people were waiting for 4 hours to get on our device. And we were in this bubbly igloo type of tent that the Bavarian government gave us, and we had like 50 degrees in that thing, and we were sweating really out of every pore, and people were like, they were mad because they had to wait so long, and then they came inside and they said, oh guys, I feel sorry for you, but we gave them a flight. Every one of them had it, and we learned a lot. I can tell you the way you approach our device, how you will do. 100%. People who got to step on it, oh, let me do this, I can do this.
Do you have any kind of feedback loop while people are working out, while they are using the device directly by software, or is it basically observation and talks?
Both. Observation helps you a lot, but of course we have a feedback, and that's really easy. You score, like in a game. The game industry has all tool sets to measure you at all times. How fast are you? What's your score? What was your score when you did this? Who's better than you? And so forth. And all this stuff, we utilize it. This is game stuff. You know, it's scoring. It's the way we set things up. And you score when you aim through something. We have a game called Aim. This is like the burner for all the beginners, because we have predefined speeds. You don't have to touch anything. You're just on the device, and people squeeze the handles. I say, come on, no white knuckles, relax, you know. And then I start talking to the people, what's their name and how old they are, if they have a family with them and what they're doing here. And then they start relaxing, and their subconscious is taking control, and then they're doing a good job. And once you ask them, now you go there and you hit this ring. Key for us, there were two things. We had to mirror to see exactly what people were seeing when they were doing the flight. Because if I don't see what you see, I cannot correct you, okay? So that was the first thing we did. And in the beginning, when we had Gear VR with the smartphone from Samsung, then as a wireless solution, Samsung was calling us, asking us how we did the mirroring, because our mirroring was totally different from theirs, because their mirroring, you were seeing two pictures on the PC screen, you know, for the two lenses. In our, no. Why? Because we had two games and you were steering two games at the same time, one on the smartphone and one on the PC. That was the trick. And this way we were able to, I can tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. This is why we suffer, of course, from not being able to show people how things work. And this is one of our key issues with virtual reality. You have to experience it to know what it does to you and if you like it or not. And of course, we all know the last 12 months was like hell for gyms and everybody, everything that has to do with being open to public and testing and trying things. So in the last couple of months, of course, our home business approach with the not virtual reality, but I don't even call it augmented reality, with the app-based stuff, it just went through the roof in comparison to all the other business. And yeah, so we kind of were forced to kind of change us as a company, because we had to handle the way differently. And here, what we have to see if people are doing it right or wrong is also a scoring system. I can see, we have a leaderboard and I can see how people are doing, but of course there's I would love to be with the people and to do more with them. And this is why we will start with live courses where people are just, you know, joining in a like Twitch kind of scenario where, like we have right now, people see each other and work out with each other. And then our trainers can address issues of, let's say, wrong workout ways and so forth directly.
I think that's a great way, I think, to wrap up. This is really where the digital meets the physical, and the real and the person meets technology, and none can go without the other. And also what I found really interesting is that in the end, you need a person to view what Absolutely. Another person is doing in order to further develop, add, change, the device and evaluate. So there is no software doing this for us. One last very quick question, and I think that was from the chat. How much does the cloud cost for an end user?
The
Can you share
ICAROS
this
Cloud,
with us?
yeah, of course. ICAROS Cloud right now is including VAT costs €990. It comes with a lot of stuff, and it is actually, in my point of view, a high-tech product. It costs us a lot to make them and to get them here because we are still, small, and the numbers are kind of counted as all 4-digit numbers.
Well,
still.
it's the same as a very
that's
good stand-up pedal board, and I think for this,
exactly.
It's a good investment.
I think because you can have it a long time, and the second thing is you can do an extremely a lot amount on it. And there will be another product. It will be a small version of it. We call it 360 because it's round, and it is for people who just don't have the space, and it will cost €360. And we'll have
this
to
is something we are looking forward to for the next year.
Or maybe no, this year.
Okay, great.
Next year we will do AI and all that crazy stuff.
Okay,
No.
we're
racing.
We're taking you by the word. We're looking forward to see it.
Mm-hmm.
We are a bit over time, so seeing that tomorrow is a holiday, at least in most parts of where we are, I would now like to thank you and wrap up for tonight. And I don't have any more questions also from the public, from our viewers. I'm wishing you lots of great next steps. I'm really looking forward to see where this evolves. We have seen this, that within 4 years, you made several steps, and one very big step in terms of a completely new market. So this is really accelerating and a great story, and it's an ongoing story as I understand. So Michael, thank you very much for giving us so many insights into all the systems of Hive and ICAROS. I'd like to thank everybody who has been watching. Thanks also for our team, most of all, Magda, Fabian, Billy, and Jake. And be sure to save the date for the next talent track deep dive. We will present on May 26th, one of our first award winners from the new talent category, the designer of a life-saving assistant, Malin Kamla. So we hope to see you soon again. That's in 2 weeks. And we would be very, very happy if you connect with us, stay in touch with us, be it through LinkedIn, our newsletter, social media. And of course, check out our website to see more. Have a wonderful evening. See you soon. And thanks again for watching and being part. See you soon in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.